everybody, it's Kathy Champion again with Random Acts of Crafting, and I want to welcome you back to my craft room. I have an idea today for a card, and I want to, this is a card that I had told y'all early on that I was going to bring you, and we're going to be using this Sizzix embossing folder, and I love using embossing folders and doing some ink dragging, and I made a card not too long ago using this process, and I love the way it turned out. So I'm going to show you my process of how I think my way through this. The first thing I do is I measure my embossing folder, and this one is, I believe it's like 4.5 by 6.5 or 6.25. I'm not really that concerned with the height, but more so with the width. So I want to cut this at 4.5, which is great because we need a 4.25, and I always like to trim off a little bit. So I am going to do the 4.5. And we got to go to right here, and I'm just cutting this. This is the Brutus Monroe heavyweight cardstock. I believe it's 100 pound or 110. It is just really, really nice cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grab my Cuttle Bug, and this time, because we are not going to be die cutting, I won't need that C plate. But I will need my A plate and 2 B plates. So I am going to put my A plate in first. And let's see if I can find my 2 better quality plates. And I think I have a couple right here that I can use. The one that I'm using to cut with right now is in really, really bad shape, so I didn't want to use those for my embossing. I do have these 2 that I reserved for just embossing. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take this piece of cardstock and lay it up into our folder, and you're just going to fold it down just like so. And let's see if this is going to go through with one. This is a very thick embossing folder, so I usually have to play with it a little bit using it in my Cuttle Bug, and I may have to get the Big Shot out. No, I think this is going to work. I might have to come back with a shim. Let's take it all the way to the end and back. And if we don't get a good impression, it's not a big deal. We'll just run it back through. Oh, that's good. And see, we have all of that design raised up on our paper. This is why I love embossing folders, for that reason. And I didn't need both of my, normally with the thinner embossing folders, you will need to use 2 of your plates. But this time I only needed 1. So that worked out real well for me. So I'm going to stick those down there. And let's see if we can loosen this up. I'm going to put this back out of our way. And I'm going to bring my trimmer back in, because what I want to do is I want this to be 4 inches. So right now it's measuring 4.25. So we're going to take a 1/2 inch, no, 1/4 inch off on each side. But first I'm going to come down here, and I want to cut this at 5.5. 5.25, I'm sorry. 5.25. We're just going to lay that to the side. And now I want to bring this in and cut it down 1/4 inch. I did sink my blade in the middle, and the reason I did that is because this is very bumpy, because it has been raised up. So you want to be careful to make sure you get a good cut. Now what I am going to do, and I did this on another card, and like I said, and I thought that it turned out just perfect. So I thought I wanted to bring this to all of you to show you that if you have an embossing machine, a Cuttlebug, a Sis6 Big Shot, any of those, you can use your embossing folders to make beautiful card fronts. And it seems like card fronts is our sort of subject of the day or the week. But I have this white. This is a Brutus Monroe pigment ink, and it's alabaster, which is a very pretty, I want to say off-white, but slightly off-white. Alabaster is really a pretty white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this. I'm just going to sit it down very gently like that, and I'm just going to drag it over top of these flowers. And look how subtle that brings those flowers to life. And I am going to go one time this way, and a little bit here. Because what you want to do is you don't want it to be overdone, but very subtle across these flowers, just like so. And I thought this was just a beautiful technique. Now we can come in with a card base, and I did have some card bases just a few moments ago, and I stuck them. I clean up after each video, and a lot of times I put away stuff that I'm evidently going to need for the next video. So what I'm trying to do is I am filming ahead to try to get some content up for everyone. And so all I'm going to do now is grab one of these card bases, and I think I'm going to do this in the landscape. So I am just going to put this onto this card base like so. Let's see, do I want to turn it? It looks like it needs to go this way. Yeah. And this is something you can just basically eyeball for yourself and see which is more pleasing to your eye. And it's totally a preference. It's not any way is wrong. It's just what feels right for you. So I'm just going to glue this down. Just like so. You want to make sure you get it around the edges really well so that the edges stick down. That's always very important when you're making cards. So I'm going to just sit this on here like this, making sure that I get that just where it needs to be. Now that ink, I can still feel it's just a little bit tacky because this is pigment ink and it does take a little bit longer. And I did get some of the white on my fingers, but that's okay. Us crafters always have stuff on our hands, it seems like. If it's not glue, it's ink, and if it's not ink, it's markers. So forever washing my hands. And I often say if art glitter glue could condition your hands, I would have the best hands in the world, because I'm constantly peeling art glitter glue off of my hands. So I wanted to make this, I kind of want it to be a happy card. I think the last one I made, I did a sorry on it. It was an apology card. But I am going to do something a little bit different with this one. And I think what I want to do, and I'm just trying to decide, do I want to pop something up on it here? No, I don't think that goes with it very well. I think what I want to do is just a white sentiment on the front of this card. So let me grab a piece of scrap white, and I do have a little piece right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this to about an inch, maybe an inch and a half. We can always cut it back down if we need to. So I got this an inch and a half high, and I think I want it about 2.5, maybe 3 inches long. So we're going to go 3 inches. And I am going to dovetail this, but I want to stamp it first. So hang on and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. And what I found was this Jesus Loves You stamp set. And I love that saying. I had a pastor's wife that used to always say, Jesus loves you. She would always say that every time she saw you. And it's so true, because there is no greater love than the love that Jesus has for us. So I am going to stamp that, and I want to stamp this in a red. I think it's going to really pop on this black and white card. So I am going to grab my Glamorous ink, and this is the VersaFine Clair. I love these inks. They're so well pigmented. But I do want to give you a little tip that I have found out. This is a stamp, and I don't think I've used some of the stamps off of this set, but I have never used the Jesus Loves Me, or Loves You. So I want to condition this stamp. I found out that by using my stamp scrubber, that I keep some a little bit of this squeaky clean on, that just a tiny bit of that conditions your stamps, so it really makes them easy to stamp. So I'll just, you know, even if it's dry, I can still condition my stamps by just rubbing them on there. And I know that might seem like an overkill, but I hate a stamp that doesn't stamp the first time. And usually you have to stamp it 2 or 3 times, but I have found that by doing this little technique, it conditions my stamp and it takes the ink really well. And that's always a good thing, because now I am inking the stamp up quite a bit because it is a new stamp. So I want to make sure that we get a good image the first time. And let's see, I'm going to do it a little bit to the left because I'm going to dovetail maybe I'm going to do it here and dovetail the other end. I think that's what I want to do. So I'm just going to hold that, just give it time to transfer the ink. And now, and that just turned out beautiful. Like I said, this is a great way to condition your stamps, and I love to use that technique because it just really is a good way to make sure that your new stamps stamp really well. So I am going to put my ink back over in my little holder, and then we're going to go ahead and dovetail this. And I'm going to use my little cutter bee scissors for that, because and I want it to be fairly deep, so I'm going to go in probably about a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to go from this corner to that cut, and I'm going to go from this corner to that cut, and there we have a perfect little dovetail. And I'm going to put this up like so, and I'm going to actually pop this up. And you know what else I think I want to do with this? I think I want to do one of these little hearts. I think that would just be adorable. So let's get a heart on here. And again, I'm going to grab that same, I shouldn't have put it up. Like I said, I'm just kind of winging this as we go, and just kind of making it my card. So I'm going to, and I didn't do the squeaky clean on that one, so let's go back. Even though I put ink on it, we'll just take the ink off and put the ink back on. That will definitely condition it well. So I'm going to do a little heart like right about here. I love that. I think it's so cute. Okay. Now I think this is ready to pop up, and I am going to get this stuff out of my way so I can work here a little bit. And I'm going to pop this up on some dimensional, and I think I might just use my Scotch 3M tape, this roll right here. I got a fuzzy on it. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to use my same little snips, my little Tim Holtz snips, and I'm just going to cut off a piece about this big, and we're going to put this down right here. And I don't need a piece quite so thick this time, so I'm going to cut another piece about the same width, but I'm going to cut it in half. And I'm going to stick this right back on my roll, just like so. And then that'll be waiting for me next time I grab that roll of tape, and I'll already have a piece that's been cut. So I'm going to put this one right about here. And let's pull our backer off of it. And like I said, where I want to position this is I want it to be in and up enough that we can see that little edge of black around the edge of it. Just like so. And then this would be a great card for someone that's going through any difficulties, that's maybe having some issues in their life. What I would do here is I would take a black piece of paper or cardstock and put it down, and then mat it with a white piece, and maybe stamp an encouragement or something inside. But that, to me, that's just a beautiful card. You could embellish it further. You could put a little red bow right here or right here. There's just so much you can do. But the main technique I wanted to bring you was the ink dragging on top of your embossing folders. And I know earlier we talked about embossing and we did heat embossing. There are so many different types of embossing that you can do. And the embossing folders is just another one that I think when you use it with the ink dragging, it's really beautiful. So I hope this video is a help to you, and I hope that it's something that you can use in your own craft room. But if you like this, give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. Sorry about my dog. My dog just heard my husband come in, and he is telling the news. He's my little mouth. But anyway, they're in there playing, so... But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in once again to one of my tutorials. Your support means so much. God bless you always, and thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.